Welcome everyone, this is Kerjims channel. Now we are back to our new episodes of two semi-reality champions and comparison featured by Wild League of Legends versus the Mobile Legend Bang Bang. But before that, please like and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so you will be notified to our new next episode video. Let's do this!
A talented inventor called Corin Revek. His designs were so beautifully detailed that even those without medical need wanted his clockwork-powered augmentation. People swore his work had uncannily lifelike quality, as if he enchanted his clocks and gears with magic. Eager to learn his craft, Orianna decided to become his apprentice. Her father was brilliant but repulsive. He relied on Orianna to handle their customers, and because of her friendly nature, she soon became the face of their business. Though she rarely ventured beyond her neighborhood, she often sneaked away to a theater. There she watched the dancers tell stories through leaps and pirouettes from lands beyond Piltover. Epic adventures unfolded before her. An ageless mage who wandered the desert in search of a spell he'd lost centuries ago. A maiden who disguised herself as a rock in a magic-infused jungle. A pilgrim who longed to climb an impossibly tall magical mountain, and a dozen more stories. Orianna always dreamed of visiting these distant lands. From the theater balcony, she studied the dancers' moves, and when she returned back to their workshop, she started creating miniature figures that recreated the dazzling show. One quiet day in the shop, after Orianna fitted an elderly woman's mechanical hand, the patient mentioned a terrible accident that happened in Zone. An explosion covered the streets of Zone in a toxic cloud. These toxins would cause organ failure and a slow, lingering death. Everyone who got poisoned had to be moved to the medical camp at the heart of Zone. Orianna immediately told her father about the accident and urged him to help the victims. Corin knew the risks of working in such a dangerous environment, and he ordered Orianna to stay home. But she was not to be held back so easily. Later that night, Orianna picked up as many respirators as she could and put on a protective mask before descending down into Zone. When she arrived, she was shocked to see the devastation. Streets covered in rock and metal. Zonites walked through the thick clouds of toxins with nothing more than rags covering their faces. Orianna joined a group of volunteers, helping these most affected by the fumes. She returned night after night to repair broken breathing equipment and install new SO filters in her patients, allowing them to breathe the fumes safely. After giving away all her respirators, Orianna noticed a young child with deathly labored breathing. Without a second thought, she removed her mask and gave it to the child, using a handkerchief to cover her own face. Within days, Orianna fell ill herself. Soon, she struggled to breathe and she was forced to face her own mortality. Devastated at her own daughter's failing health, Corin started developing his most ambitious project yet, replacing Orianna's dissolving lungs with automated replicas. He used the most expensive material he reserved for his highest-paying customers. After weeks of sleepless nights, he finally was able to replace the lungs. In order to prevent Orianna from running away too far again, he gave the lungs a key only he could wind. The mechanism worked perfectly, and soon Orianna got back to work. Unfortunately, it didn't take long and the problems returned. After few months, the poison spread into the rest of the body. Orianna and her father worked together, and each time an organ failed, they were able to replace it. As more of her anatomy changed, Orianna grew more uncertain of her own identity. She still had most of her memories, but her body was no longer her own. Her father also noticed the change. Sometimes, Orianna could hear him crying late at night. One day, he brought her tickets to the Piltover Theater to cheer her up. But she insisted on leaving halfway through because she had already learned everything from the show. Devastated at the gradual loss of her own daughter's personality, he tried to help Orianna recall her old memories and dreams. Orianna followed his instructions, but she realized all she ever wanted was to be herself. Within a year, her entire body was mechanical, except for her heart, which miraculously survived. At this point, they focused too much effort on Orianna and they lost many valuable customers. Because of this, they had to move to Zone. With her new body, Orianna was better than ever. She didn't have to sleep, it was inhumanly precise, and she even learned how to maintain her own old parts. Yet, Orianna was frustrated. Unlike all mortals, she was frozen in time. Her father became old, but she was the same. Because of the polluted air in Zone, people visited their workshop only occasionally, and their business slowed down. Soon, Corin himself developed breathing problems, and he had to rest often. One day, Orianna noticed a poor boy frequently passing by their shop, and spent an afternoon crafting a mechanical figure for him. The tiny clockwork gentleman tipped his head and bowed when his key was wound. In a city where each day could be a battle for survival, this toy made the boy incredibly happy. So Orianna decided to make more of them, but this time, sell them in their shop. Surprisingly, the toys sold very well. Apparently Zone was in desperate need for a bit of joy. The figures sold faster and faster, and soon the workshop grew again. They were able to afford more expensive materials and even a rare hextech crystal. But although more and more visitors came to visit, not all of them were welcome. A gang employed by Petrock Grime, a formidable chem baron, stopped by one day. He offered to protect their workshop from thieves and general mayhem in exchange for coins. Corin refused, believing standing up to criminals was the right choice, rather than supporting them. But later that night, their workshop was raided and all of their money stolen by the same gang. Orianna spent the next month developing a tool that would protect them, a hovering sphere that could radiate powerful energy. Corin noticed that the ball assisted Orianna in her work automatically, as if they had invisible connection. As Corin grew even older, Orianna was forced to buy expensive tonics to treat his pain. She helped him as much as she could, but a Zonite doctor confirmed that the polluted air got into his bloodstream and poisoned his heart. Despite all their achievements together, neither Corin nor Orianna had yet developed a mechanism that could reproduce the work of human heart. Orianna knew her father loved the daughter he once had, but she no longer felt like that girl. Perhaps giving her own heart to her father would keep his daughter's memory alive. If she could create a mechanical heart for herself powered by the hextech, her lungs would no longer need a winding key. Maybe then, time could move forward again. Orianna gave Corin his sleeping medicine and crafted her new clockwork heart using the recently acquired hextech crystal. With the help from the ball, she was able to remove the key and install the device. She then cut Corin's chest and replaced his failing heart with the last remnant of Orianna he had known and loved. She listened to her father's heartbeat through the night, and at dawn, she left for good. Though she still loved him, she wanted to see the world. Corin woke to find his workshop filled with hundreds of miniature figures. Tiny clockwork people who could balance on a string, sing songs, or even juggle tiny silver balls. It was enough to return back to Piltover in no time. But there was one figure he vowed never to sell. A golden dancer with no winding key, who pirouetted in a dance without end. The story continues with Orianna sneaking into Sir Feasterly's fantastical fair. She waited for the whole fair to close before going in. She was after the glass cabinet tucked into a corner on the other side of this place. As she approached it, a wing of metal flashed in the moonlight. It came from the mechanical boy sitting inside. Orianna inspected him closely, and the boy's lips arranged into a smile. "Can you keep a secret?" the boy said. "Hello," she said. "Of course. What say we make a trade? My secret for your name." "That seems fair. I am called Orianna." "Orianna," he repeated. "Such soft sounds. I suppose it's my turn. My name is Firem. My secret is that I fear the outside world, though I long to see distant shores and far-off mountains." "Is that why you live in a cabinet?" she asked. "Because you are afraid?" "From here, the world visits me," said Firem. "Behind the glass, I am safe. I am very fragile, you see." He pointed to a crack on his forearm. "There it is. I am getting old." Firem's mouth opened into a grin. "Oh ho! You haven't seen my tricks yet." He reached into his sleeve and produced a bouquet of daisies with a flourish. "Ta-da!" he exclaimed. And Firem removed his hat, and a half-dozen mechanical pigeons spread around the cabinet. He then clasped his hands together, and the cabinet filled with red smoke. When it disappeared, the birds were gone. Orianna applauded in delight. The ball whirled, impressed. "Wonderful!" she exclaimed. "Like magic. And that wasn't even my best execution. Fumbled my sleeve a bit," he admitted, folding his hands. "But small miracles are my specialty, like you finding your way to me in this great city. You above all others." "You winked at me," said Orianna. "Why?" "We are kindred spirits, you and I, but you already knew that," said Firem. "It's why you're here, isn't it?" He shuffled his feet. Orianna marveled at the subtlety of his movements. "It is just that I have never seen another like you," she said. "I am one of a kind, aren't I? Same as you," said Firem. He gestured toward her mechanical frame and winked again. Orianna smiled. Firem leaned against the glass. "Your smile is fabricated," she said. "Yes, I am still mastering certain expressions." "Beautiful," said Firem. "Well, now you are going to make me blush." Orianna's ball, hovering at her left shoulder, nudged her gently. "Not now," she told the ball. She lifted a mechanical monkey from the ground and turned its key. It started clashing its symbols together every third step. "You are not like him, are you, Firem? All wound up at the turn of a key," she said. "You have a mind and thoughts. I may be comprised of cogs and wheels, but I have dreams, like anyone."
Victory!